Hello friends! You're on the Last Days channel. Thank you so much for your engagement and support. And so, a review of events for November 28th and 29th. Gaza, Palestine. Against the background of the difficult military situation in Gaza, an environmental problem has also emerged that is causing concern in the global scientific community. According to the latest data, more than 35,000 tons of solid waste are burning in the streets of the city, emitting dangerous chemicals. This can lead to the appearance of no less dangerous insects and deterioration of air quality, which will negatively affect the health of local residents. According to ecologists' reports, people are literally breathing poison, and the acrid odor is felt by everyone. However, the authorities have not yet taken any measures to solve this problem. Volunteers may have to be called in to help, or the problem may have to be solved on their own. But urgent action is needed to improve the environmental situation in Gaza. Northeastern United States. The northeast of the United States was at the mercy of heavy snowfalls. Due to this situation, in many educational institutions canceled classes. Crews are working on the roads to clear snowdrifts. Motorists are urged to exercise special caution because of the icy conditions. In Ohio, more than 20 traffic accidents occurred during the blizzard. Heavy snowfall warnings have been in effect in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York since the beginning of this week. For example, in the city of Syracuse in New York State, the thickness of the snow cover reached 58 centimeters, and in Cleveland, Ohio, 33 centimeters. The weather in this part of the United States is expected to normalize by Thursday. Earlier it was reported that at least 11 states in the U.S., from the south to the north of the country, were under a powerful winter storm. In many of them there were heavy snowfalls, and in the south, from Texas to Florida, there were powerful downpours. Iwo Jima Island, Japan. The explosive eruption of the Nejima volcano on the island of Iwo Jima, in the archipelago of volcanic islands in southern Japan, continues. Back in October, active ash emissions near the volcano caused the formation of a small island, which already stretches from the coast of Japan to the Mariana Trench. It grew quite actively as the volcanic material accumulated. However, the morphology of the island suffers from severe erosion by ocean waves, as it is still only composed of loose young lava material. This means that it is very prone to collapse into the water. Boon Lay, Singapore. Bad weather has caused flooding in Singapore's western Boon Lay neighborhood. The torrential downpour has left dozens of streets flooded. Local authorities recommend temporarily bypassing the area to avoid traffic jams. The city services are already busy eliminating the consequences of the disaster. Crimea and Sevastopol. The most powerful storm in history occurred in Crimea. Wind gusts reached 40 meters per second, waves covered the coast, destroyed infrastructure and residential houses. The authorities have declared an emergency regime in the region. Almost 2 million people remain without electricity. And according to meteorologists' forecasts, such weather will remain here until the middle of the week. According to the latest data, rescuers evacuated more than 350 people. People were sent to temporary accommodation centers. Because of the elements suffered not only residents and tourists, but also animals. Because of flooding in the Sevastopol Aquarium Museum died about 800 individuals. Among the animals were an exotic species. Storm of the century destroyed and the famous oyster farm of the Institute of Biology. Seawater filtration equipment was smashed, a farm boat sank, and the mooring lot was destroyed. Now the city's public utilities are working around the clock. The disaster still continues, heavy rain or even hail. There are delays in the schedule of air flights and railway transportation. The authorities promise to restore electricity supply in the coming days. But residents are asked not to panic and to wait for the storm to end. Ohio, United States.
Well, I just wanted to let you know.
3 people were killed and 1 injured in an explosion that occurred at an auto repair shop in Ohio on Tuesday. A powerful fire broke out at about 4 p.m. at Jimbo's Auto Repair. Officials have not been able to determine the cause of the explosion. Authorities believe 4 people were inside the auto repair shop at the time of the explosion, 3 of whom died. The 4th person was transported from the scene to the hospital and is in stable condition. 8 fire units arrived at the scene to help contain the fire. No damage to nearby structures was reported as a result of the explosion and fire. Eyewitnesses reported that the explosion shook the ground several blocks away.
It was crazy.
Georgia. The Black Sea coast of Georgia was hit by a storm of 8 points. The coastal areas of the popular resorts of Batumi and Kabylie, as well as the port city of Poti, located on the Black Sea coast, were seriously damaged. In Batumi, the elements caused significant damage. New Boulevard was damaged, the pedestrian path was washed away, Kimshiashvili Street was flooded, as well as the first floors of buildings. The local authorities urged the residents to refrain from walking along the embankment due to the dangerous storm. In Kabylie, the beach and infrastructure were also damaged, cafes and bars were damaged. In the city of Poti, strong winds tore off the roofs of several multi-story buildings and damaged cars. Work to eliminate the consequences of the disaster continues under emergency conditions.
бомбило тут. Вот это все. Ой, вот. Сами волны.
Odessa, Ukraine. A few days ago, Odessa found itself in the center of a rare all-winter storm. Heavy snowfall and gusty winds led to the fact that the whole city was put out of action. Many roads were blocked due to fallen trees and power lines, which left more than 200 settlements without light and communication. Unfortunately, it was not without victims and casualties. According to local authorities, 3 people died due to the snowstorm, and another 27 residents sought help from medics with complaints of hypothermia. Emergency services are now working around the clock to restore life in the city. Communal workers are clearing highways and restoring power supply in settlements. In this regard, residents are asked to abandon personal transportation and long-distance travel. The roads are still slippery. Despite all the inconveniences, citizens show solidarity and help each other in a difficult moment. We hope that the emergency services will cope with the task of restoring normal life in the city as soon as possible. California, USA. Residents of California in the US were spooked by burning pipe flares and a huge cloud of black smoke that resulted from a power outage at the Chevron refinery in Richmond. Company executives quickly took action to extinguish the fire, while workers at the facility tried to minimize its effects. Authorities instituted a Level 1 public alert system, according to which no evacuation was required. Specialists were sent to the plant to assess the situation. Environmentalists said air quality was not affected by the flaring. The smoke plume stretched westward, but at the moment the situation at the plant is under control and the fire has been stopped. Dagestan, Russia. In the Shamil district of Dagestan, a rock avalanche has covered a section of the highway Ganubskoy Highway Vantlyashevsky Pass between the villages of Karadak and Galadal. Traffic is closed. The equipment necessary for clearing the highway is being moved to the place. The road in Shamil district will be reopened after the consequences of the collapse are eliminated. Genichesk, Kherson region. The Crimean hurricane, which occurred in Genichesk, Kherson region, caused the strongest sea tide in the last 60 years. In some places the water receded more than 100 meters from the shore. The shoreline is now littered with algae, jellyfish, and shells. Local residents come to watch this unusual phenomenon, and some even search the seabed with metal detectors. Our planet. Climatologist Alexei Karnakov warned of the possible appearance of a sustained hurricane on Earth due to climate change. Global warming causes a shift in the boundaries of climate zones, and the monsoon zone has already begun to shift to the territory of Russia. Scientists predict that if people do not begin to seriously deal with climate problems, hurricanes may become commonplace. Global warming causes a shift in the boundaries of climate zones, and the monsoon zone has already begun to shift to the territory of Russia. Recall that the longest tropical storm Freddie lasted almost 40 days. There are also known cases when hurricanes, having originated in the Atlantic, crossed Central America and continued their way in the Pacific Ocean. A researcher of the Pushchino Center for Biological Research calls for responsible attitude to ecology and taking measures to prevent catastrophic consequences of climate change.